Mr. Hale?
Mr. Chairman and board members, Stephen Hale, the firm of Hale & Hale, representing Joe Montez and the red Cadillac. This is an application before this board for some changes to the, minimal changes to the existing restaurant operation. I want to begin with, though, this area of town is very important. If we look back a number of years, we had the vacant Exxon station that was there for many, many years. This restaurant establishment was closed. There were several other vacant areas along this stretch of Elmwood and Morris. And the reopening of this restaurant is a critical piece of the revitalization of this area, as was the 7-Eleven that went up several, probably within the past year. And that's what's important here in the thriving of business. And that's the reason that we're here before the board this evening. The applicant is seeking first relief to have front yard parking and display of the red Cadillac vehicle. You've probably seen it in that area there. It's part of what is the essence of this establishment, and you'll hear Joe Montez comment upon this further. Where we're proposing to place the vehicle is, and we've received the departmental comments from engineering and police, it will not interfere with any sight lines. It will not interfere with any pedestrian. In fact, if you recall, when one of the restaurants was there were fountains and pillars out there that extended further beyond where this car is going to go. And this is a unique situation. It's a draw to this business, and again, it's going to be an important part of the vibrance and stability of having this type of establishment there. It's an interesting eyepiece, and I think it's great to have that catch and something that will let the business continue to thrive. And it won't have any negative impact. Well, Mr. Coriel, who is our surveyor and planner, will comment upon that. That certainly maintaining the vehicle in front of the establishment will not have any negative impact. The second is a request to reinstall a light box on a sign that existed for many, many years. I discussed this briefly with council before. While we've requested this in the way of a variance because that's the nature of the application, it's also our position that the use of the sign, the previous sign, was not abandoned. It had been there many, many years. If you recall, this at one time was George's Restaurant. That sign existed. There was a sign in the front and a sign on Elmwood Avenue. And then it became Primo's. In the late 80s, the sign was replaced and changed to Primo's. And then when that restaurant closed and another tenant came in, the sign was changed again. Unfortunately, during a storm, the light box portion of the sign came down. And since there was no tenant at that time, to replace a blank light box didn't make any sense. And of course, the poles still exist, the electric's still there, the brackets are still there. And regardless of that, we feel that if it was deemed to be a variance, that the variance would be justified. Again, it's replacing what was there before. Same size, no larger. Well, we have documentation to support that. This is a unique piece of property that fronts on two sides. It has frontage on both Morris Avenue and Elmwood. And you'll hear testimony from my client and from Mr. Coriel. With the addition of the 7-Eleven adjacent, the sign that's on Morris Avenue is partially obscured, and the sign on Elmwood Avenue is critical for this type of business, especially a restaurant business, which is a destination. People go to a place because they're attracted and brought to that place by signage. And we also had an opportunity to meet with the Residents and Civic Association, and you'll hear that we've indicated that the sign will be shut off after the closing of the dining room. And the way it's situated also, it's going to not impact because of the angle of the sign. And it also is lower, frankly lower than the adjacent 7-Eleven building. So we feel that whether it's viewed as a pre-existing structure that's merely being replaced, the portion that was damaged, and or a request for a variance, that it would be justified. And again, both of these, both the vehicle and the signage, are important that this type of business survive and thrive, which is critical to this area of a gateway to Union. So that's an overview of the application. Again, we received the departmental comments. There, again, the only comment, there were no comments by fire. Police just wanted to make sure that it didn't interfere with pedestrian traffic. And we did receive a revised letter in from Phil Hatterer today, because we had an opportunity to discuss it with him, a much simplified letter. And the main issue there, again, was that it didn't interfere with pedestrian or sight lines. So that's an overview of the application. I did also discuss with council that these are what would be deemed to be bulk variances. There's no site plan approval as part of this application.
And, Mr. Chairman, that's accurate. And just for the record, since there is a legal issue raised here this evening, the issue of abandonment is one that the applicant is raising for the board to consider. It's not something that I opine. All I could do is direct you on what needs to be done. The abandonment issue is such that you'll hear testimony. It's the applicant's burden the same way it would be to succeed in getting a bulk variance. On the abandonment issue, their burden is the same. They still have to convince you as a board to hear facts that it isn't abandoned, that in fact it has been used and the intent of the owner was to continue to use it. You'll hear testimony, you'll make that determination. The legal criteria is such that if it hasn't been used for a period of time, and I believe under our ordinance it's 1 year, if I'm not mistaken, 1 year being the applicable time period, there's a time period as well as an intent element of what the property owner intended to do in using or not using this signage. So it's not simply just a matter of months or years that you're considering. It's the intent and how the property had been used over time as part of your deliberation.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to call upon Joe Montes.
I do. M-O-N-T-E-S.
Okay. Mr. Montes, give your position with the applicant, the Red Cadillac Restaurant.
I'm the owner and operator of the Red Cadillac Restaurant. My family's owned that property for 25 years. We originally owned the Primo's Restaurant. One of the restaurants leased it out, and now we returned with my wife and my kids to open the Red Cadillac.
All right. Now, before we get to the actual operation of the Red Cadillac Restaurant itself, you briefly described your knowledge and history of the property, and I'm sure a lot of the board members and public recall the George's and then Primo's. A little history of this, your family and this property.
In 1987, we purchased the property, opened Primo's Restaurant, which is a Spanish restaurant. We operated it for 15 years. Then subsequently we opened another restaurant in Roselle Park. We ended up leasing this property, but we have owned and maintained that property for 25 years.
Okay. Now, after the Primo's had closed, you said you leased it out, and
after Primo's, it was leased to Peppers. It was called.
What was it? I'm sorry.
It was called Peppers. It was a supper club.
Okay. And that subsequently closed.
And that did not last very long now.
Okay.
And then after that, took a little while to lease it, and once again, we leased it to Parola Restaurant, which was a Portuguese restaurant.
Okay. And that was the last restaurant at the location prior to you opening up the Red Cadillac?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and when did that previous restaurant close?
They closed in 2006. They opened in 2005. They closed in 2006.
Now, the Red Cadillac, could you give the board an idea of what this type of restaurant is and how this concept came about?
The Red Cadillac is a Mexican restaurant with an American theme. We call it Garage Americana. I drive a 1968 Cadillac convertible. It's actually in the parking lot right now. We were looking to reopen the property. We pulled in front of the restaurant, my kids and my wife, and started thinking of a concept, and there was this beautiful red Cadillac sitting in front of it. We said we can call it the Red Cadillac. We did. I'm a chef. I created the menu and the food, and we thought that with the economy the way it is and everybody's having a tough time, that we put a very fair-priced meal. We thought Mexican could be fairly priced and that the public would react well to it, give them a nice, fresh concept. And the Cadillac goes with the American theme, and, you know, we designed a logo, and it looked great, and the car looks great, so we decided, even though everybody told us we were crazy to open a restaurant, which was in August of last year when we opened, we decided to go for it, and we did.
And I know that being in your place, you carry the theme of automobile and restaurant. Expand on that a little bit, how it's the whole theme of your place.
The concept is revolving around the Cadillac. It has a lot of Cadillac memorabilia inside. We have bumpers, front ends. We pour water at your table from a gas can. You know, we have headlights, hubcap clocks, all kinds of things that my family and I have made to hang. I mean, you know, we didn't have a lot of money to do this. We did a lot of the work ourselves in there. And I think we created a nice, fun theme that everybody seems to be reacting very well to.
Now, from the time that, again, I'm going to emphasize, the time that that previous restaurant had closed, I assume you had looked to attract other tenants to the property and finally decide to open yourself?
We did. It was, like I said, it was 2006. We tried to release the property, find chains maybe. We thought it was a great spot, but the economy started going down. A lot of people, you know, were closing restaurants. There wasn't really many people looking to open a restaurant. It's a very volatile business. It's a very tough business. And unfortunately, we had to sit on it and, you know, continue to pay taxes and maintain the property, and hopefully someday something would happen, and my kids happened. They said, let's open a restaurant, and that's how it happened. You know, we decided to do the property ourselves. Nobody was buying it, nobody was leasing it.
So it's a family operation.
It's my wife, myself, and my 3 children.
Now, the first area of relief that I brought up in my opening statement was with respect to parking of the vehicle in front of the restaurant. Before we get into the specifics on where it is, tell why that concept for you is important, and I know it's that the town was kind enough to let you temporarily keep the car there while this application was being made. Why is that important, and what impact did it have on your business?
Well, I mean, the restaurant's called the Red Cadillac, and if you have a 1968 red Cadillac convertible parked out front on Morris Avenue, a state highway that has roughly 90,000 cars going by it a day, it's going to attract attention. Even in the Union area, where at Galloping Hill, they have a lot of car shows, they have the cruisers, so there's a lot of places of people that appreciate old cars that live in the area. I didn't really have any signs when I opened up in August. I had my car that I parked in front of the restaurant, and it attracted attention. Everybody, I talked to all my tables every night, and I asked them how they heard about us, or, you know, how they got here. And at that point, almost every single person would tell me, well, I saw the red Cadillac outside when I drove by, so it looked like a nice place, cool place. I wanted to come in, and they came in. So the Cadillac actually attracted a lot of attention. It actually brought Coach Rex Ryan from the Jets. He's a guest of ours a lot. Jerseylicious, a national syndicated show that's on Style Network, has filmed at our location, and they're looking to film more. It brought Tony Camillo, a Grammy Award winner, to the place. He drove by, saw it, came and did a national broadcast. The Star-Ledger did a big write-up on us 4 months after, you know, we opened. So, yeah, it definitely attracted attention. I mean, I don't really have signs per se. That car is really all I had to bring people in, and they came.
Now, getting to the position where the car is to be located, this is directly in front of the establishment. There was a comment, and Mr. Coryell will expand on this, from the Police and Engineering Department. From your estimation and where the car is located, is there plenty of room